Hi, this is Joe Bolen, and today we're going to continue working on our text editor project and learn how to work with the menu ToolStrip and also the ToolStrip. So let's take a look at our program and see where we are at this point. And if you haven't done so, please watch the earlier videos in this series to get an idea of where we are at this point in our project. Okay, I have on the screen our Visual Studio project or text editor, and what we're going to do with this one is we're going to look at a couple of properties before we get started. First of all, the menu ToolStrip that we brought in, we put to the top of our Windows form, and we came out to the Smart GIF and we selected to insert standard menu items, which we did. Also, we brought the ToolStrip across as well, and once again we also chose to go highlight and bring in the insert standard items to the ToolStrip to get us started very quickly. Let's take a look at a couple of properties of these two controls. The first one is our MenuStrip, and what I'd like you to notice is the default for this one is to have it docked at the top. So I'm going to come down to the control and it's docked top. Now there are other options for where we could place that MenuStrip. We could place it on the sides or at the bottom, or we could let it float, or we could put it in the center. Default for us is the top, and that's where I'd like to have this one. Also, the same thing is true for the ToolStrip. Now the text box has a situation where it's not docked at all. We could dock it and make it look like Microsoft's Notepad by clicking it in the center. You'll see it go to the center on all sides on that. But I'd like mine to be just a little bit different than Notepad, so I'm choosing not to have it docked at all. So therefore I need to look at another attribute that we're going to be working with, and that is the anchor property. So let me scroll up a little bit and we'll see the anchor property for the text box. And you'll see it defaults to top and left. Now let me run this for a moment so you can see why we need to change this. Right now it looks fine. And what I'm going to do is go full screen and then we'll run it and we'll see the difference. Here's our text box. On that, it looks fine until I click on the full screen, full window button. And once I maximize it, you'll see my text box area has stayed just the same size. It hasn't expanded to fit. Now, if we had chosen to make this a docked property for the center, it would fill up totally on the screen. So we need to adjust that very quickly. So I'm going to go back and stop this, and then we're going to change that setting on that. So let me show you the change now. And we're coming over and we're setting it anchor, and I'm hitting the drop down on the anchor, and you'll see I can also select the right and bottom as well, which I've done. At this point, let's save it. Let's rerun it, and I'll run it full screen, and we'll have it up. Now we see it here, and I'm going to go full screen, and you'll see that it's filled out totally. So when you're working with your form, remember that some controls are docked, maybe to the top or the sides, but other controls are only anchored to the top left. And depending on where it's located, we might want to change it so it's anchored to all four sides, as I have in this case, or we might anchor it to the bottom right. Maybe there's some buttons down here. We want to keep those buttons oriented toward the corner. So we can change those anchor properties on it. So remember, two things you always want to look at when you're designing your form is the dock property and the anchor property of the control you're working with. Okay, now let's go in now and focus on the main part of today's tutorial. And that is we brought in the standard items for our menu ToolStrip, and it's pretty much got everything we need, but we need to add a few things and take away a few things. So let's begin the process of doing that. And one of the ways we can do it is we can come over to our properties window, and I'm going to go back to our a little bit bigger screen for you. Come over here to the properties window for the menu ToolStrip. I'm going to highlight menu ToolStrip, my component. You'll see it up here on the properties window, and I can come into the collection editor, and I edit the items here. That's one way to do it. Or I can come up to the Smart GIF on the ToolStrip where I have edit items as well. Both go to the same spot, the items collection editor. Now for this one, we start out and we have everything right except for we'll get rid of the ToolStrip menu item. So I'm going to hit that one and hit the X to delete it out. I don't need the ToolStrip. So let's delete that one out. Okay, now we've got it changed. You can see up here how it's adjusted already. Now I can come in and work on the different collections. I'm going to start with the file one. I'm selecting it first, and I'm coming down to the drop down items collection. So we can see the different ones that are underneath the file area. So I'm going to go to the drop down collection, click on it, and you'll see an ellipsis box appear. I'm going to click on that, and it'll bring up another items collection editor where we can look at the ones underneath the file menu. And I have everything in there pretty much right, but after the save as, I have something I want to add in. So right here I want to add in page setup to go with my different parts of the print and print preview. So I want to add in a new one. So what I want to do is first of all come up and I'm going to add a menu item. Hit add. Now while I'm here I'm going to name that item. So I'm going to come up to the top, or I should say in this case it's in a little different order. I'm going to rename this one to page setup ToolStrip menu item. So I've got page setup ToolStrip menu item on it, and I'm going to change the text of this one. So I want to come up to the text area. In fact, I'm going to switch it to alphabetical so it's a little bit faster for me. Get to the text spot and change this to say, for this one I'm going to use page setup. I'm going to put the ampersand before the up part of setup, and that'll make the U a active key, and this is going to be a dialog box that's going to come up, so I'm going to hit 3 little dots after that. Then I'm going to come over here and move it up so I have it in the spot where I want it, and there's what I want. So I have now the page setup, the print, and the print preview all together in one area. So that gets my file ToolStrip ready to go. So I'm going to say OK to that to make certain I've got everything set, and say OK. And now let's just take a quick look, and we'll see if I come back up here and manually do it. You'll see now I've got my page set up in there as well. Let's go ahead and add the rest of the things for our menu. So I'm going to go into Edit Items. Once again, this time I'm going to go to the Edit part, and I'm going to go to the drop-down area of the Edit ToolStrip menu items. Click on it, get to the editor there, and what I need to do is add a few more to this one. We have the paste, but I don't have a delete on that, so I want to add a delete. So I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call the name, and I'm going to go back to alphabetical and name it. And this one I'm going to call the Delete ToolStrip. Get rid of the one on the end. So it's Delete ToolStrip. I'm going to come on down to the text, change the text property on this one to say delete, and I'm going to put an ampersand there and then an LETE for delete. And I also want to have some keys to work on that. So I'm going to come up here to the shortcut keys. I'm going to hit the drop down on there, and for the delete one I want to have the delete key. So I'm just going to hit the drop down here, find the delete key right there, and click out of it. Now it's the delete key. I'm going to say that one's fine. Now I'm going to move this one up so it appears after the paste. So I'm going to move it up to right there. Now I need to also have some other things added in. So I'm going to add in a find next, and replace. But before I do that, I want to add in a ToolStrip separator. So I'm going to change my drop down over here to a separator, hit add, bring my separator back up on that so I have it in the right spot. I'm going to end up, you'll see two of them together, but we're going to change that in a minute. Now I'm going to go back and add another menu item, and this one's going to be the Fine ToolStrip on that. So I hit that. I'm going to go over here and change the name. So we have a find. I'll get rid of the one on the end. Find ToolStrip menu item. And for that one, the text for this will be just find. And I'm going to use the shortcut key of a Control F. So I hit the Control checkbox and find the letter F. So find F, and I'm seeing it amongst all the function keys. There's F, and so now Control F will be my shortcut key for this one. Let's say OK, and I'm going to go back to that collection before and bring it up now. Move it up, so it's right there. I'm going to add another one now, and the next one I'm going to add is a find next. So I'm going to hit an add. Once again, I'm going to rename this to find next. And I'm going to change the text for this one to find next. And I'm going to change the shortcut key from none to F3. So I'm going to change that by hitting just the drop down and not selecting any of the options up above. And I'm going to hit F3. And F3 is right there. I've selected that. There we go. So I've got F3 selected. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to come back into the collection, make sure I've got everything ordered the way I want for the edit. And I want to move the find next up to right after the find. And then I'm going to also have a replace. So I'm going to add a new one. This one's going to be called replace. And for the replace ToolStrip menu item, for the text, whoops, that was the text. Let me change that to just replace. And the name is going to be Replace ToolStrip menu item. Replace ToolStrip menu item for the name. Text is just replace. And our shortcut key for this one will be, as I click on it, we'll make the shortcut for this one a Control H. So I come over here, hit the Control checkbox, and find the letter H. There we go. So I've got that set. And I'm going to move this one up. So it's after the find next. So I got find next, replace. And then one last one I want to add in is down below the select all. I want to add a time and date. So I'm going to add this one. And for this name, I'm going to call it time date ToolStrip. And for the text, coming down to the text for this one, I'll just enter in time/date. And for the shortcut key, this one will be an F5. So I'm just going to hit the drop down for this and find F5. There we go, F5 selected on that one, and I've got it in the right location. So we've got that one set. Now I need to add in a whole new area into my menu ToolStrip. I need to add another menu item, and this one I'm going to call the Format ToolStrip. Format ToolStrip menu item on that, and I'm going to come down to the text and change the text to have ampersand format. On that one, and that one got set the way I want it. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to go to the collection of this one, but first I'm going to move it up to after the edit. So now I've got the order I want. We're going to go after the edit, and you'll see I have a drop-down items collection here. I'm going to click on that, hit the ellipsis on that, and here's where I'm going to add in for this one the word wrap. So the first one I'm going to add in is a new one, and this one will be the word wrap. Make certain I get the name property first. You notice I'm being very descriptive in my titles for this, and that makes it easier for anybody to read my code later on. Now for the text for this one, I'm going to use ampersand W word wrap. And also I'm going to choose one other thing. There is a checked properties that goes beside it. I want to make this checked as the default when I start out. So it's checked true for word wrap. And then I'm going to add another one, and this one is going to be the Font ToolStrip. And this one I'm going to come up to the name. And here's where we're going to be able to change our fonts later on. Font ToolStrip menu item. And for this one, down for the text, I'm going to choose ampersand FONT for the font on that. And since this is going to be a dialog box, I'm going to put 3 dots afterwards, making the ellipsis so that users will know that there's going to be a dialog box following that. And I've got that one set, so I'm going to hit OK. Now let's come over to the help and hit the drop down items on the help. Get to the drop down, or items collection maybe. There it is, drop down items. There we go. Hit the ellipsis on this one, and you'll see that I have more than I really need. All I want to have here is the About ToolStrip. So I'm just going to come over here and delete out the contents one, the index, the search, and the ToolStrip Separator, and say OK. OK. And let's take a look at what we've got now. We've got File, and we've added our page setup to this one. Edit. We've added our Find Next, and Replace. We've also added our time date insert. We've got to get rid of the redo. Text boxes do not have redo ability. We have undo, but not redo. So I'll have to get that one out. Let's take a look at our format. We've got word wrap and font, and help. We've got the about. So let's real quickly get out the redo for this one. So I'm going to go back into the editor for that. Edit items. I'm going to come to the edit one, hit to the drop down collections, hit the ellipsis button. And since we do not have redo, I'll take that one out. And I'll say OK, OK, and double check to make certain everything's right. And there's just my undo, no redo in there, and everything's set. So I've got those settings all done. And the one thing nice about the ToolStrip standard items are they are just exactly what I want. And so I don't need to edit that, but the same procedures would go for this. I could come up, get to the Smart GIF, click on Edit Items, and once again we have the Items Collection Editor where we can add and edit the types of different ones we have. Most of these are going to just be buttons and tool strips on our ToolStrip, but there are other options, as you'll see, that I can have on my ToolStrip. So everything from the default standard items is just what I want, so I'm not going to have to change it. I'll say OK. And just to have fun, we'll do a quick save all and test it. And our program's running. It looks good. We've got our menus here. And everything's set. We've got the icons on the ToolStrip. And we can actually start entering in text. So we can start entering in text. The only trouble is we have no functionality. It's just a text box to put in data. We have menu options, but no events associated with it. So the next thing we're going to work on is getting that done. So we're going to come in our next video, and we're going to create events for the different menu items and ToolStrip items so that we can then code behind the scenes the activity and actions that we want for those events when we click on a menu selection item. So stay tuned, get your hands dirty in the code, get your menu ToolStrip all set. Remember, the quickest way is to insert the standard items first. Make certain it's docked to the top if you want it that way. And also your ToolStrip you'll bring in and also insert the standard items. That'll get you started very quickly in getting your ToolStrips ready to go. And then you can go in to click on it and edit the items, adding new ones, taking away old ones, maybe even renaming something if you need to. So we've got our way beginning to get this done, and we're looking forward to getting our events set up next. So stay tuned. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up on it, and get your hands dirty in code. Till next time.